Here I have my geometry node set up. So what it is originally a cube with a geometry node modifier on it, instancing a bunch of spheres on it with different colors. Cool. So now what I want to do is add a large scale texture. So for example, let's say I want to add a bump map, large scale bump map to the geometry node setup. So let's say I go to my sphere and I connect a bump map. Well, the thing that kind of sucks about this is that it's to every single individual sphere, you know what I mean? So what I want it to be is sort of large scale, have it to apply to the entire thing so it kind of brings it together. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to disconnect that bump map that I just connected. I'm going to select the geometry node setup. I'm going to select Shift D to duplicate it so we have a duplicate of it. Scale it up just a little bit. With that duplicate selected, go to the modifiers and select the drop down on the geometry node modifier and apply the geometry node modifier. Then there it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a shader that I've sort of already created. It's a bump shader. And I'm going to use a metal grunge shader. It kind of looks like this. Let me just bring up the UV editor. It's kind of metal grunge, okay? So with the duplicate selected, tab, select A to select all the vertices if you haven't already. Select U, and we're going to just do a very quick Smart UV project unwrap. So select that, hit OK, and it's unwrapped. Cool. Let's go back to our shader editor. And here we have already our texture. And what I'm going to do is just apply it to a bump node and select the bump node into the principled shader normal. And you can see we have our bumps. Cool, but we don't really see anything of the underlying original geometry node. So it kind of defeats the purpose, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the metal grunge texture, I'm going to put it into a brightness contrast node and put that brightness contrast node into the alpha portion of the principled shader. And then I can just sort of play with the brightness and the contrast to get the look that I desire. And that's how I apply a large scale texture to a geometry node setup. I hope you found this video informative.